Aaron Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey everyone, it is Sunday evening, just after 9:30. We're going to do a quick update on your weather, what you can expect here for your work week. If you didn't get a chance to read my blog, you can always go back. That'll be a little more detailed as well. Plus, it's easier to share, and you can read it while you're drinking your coffee in the morning or anytime during the day. Make sure you check that out as well. I usually post those every Sunday afternoon. Today took me like 3 hours to author because I had to look at so much data. My head hurt. I was doing that while I was watching the Cowboy game. So I admit I was a little distracted, but there was a lot to absorb. So we'll get into that a little bit on the video recap of it. Jared, by the way, down in Dallas, thank you for the stars, brother. Appreciate you. So guys on YouTube, thanks for checking in. Rumble, also thanks for watching. And also Gab on the replay, and you guys on Facebook, both on the group page and on the main page. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Okay, so let's see. I've got all the notifications out. Looks like all the platforms are up and running. You guys are in the house. I see you, Jim, Lisa, Gary, Nancy, Brenda, all you guys on YouTube as usual. It's a good house party we got going on over there. I'm going to post the link on Facebook once again. I'm going to keep plugging this pretty much as I can. By the way, thank you, Aaron, for the stars. There is a link you can now click on to get into my broadcast channel on Facebook. Emmanuel, thank you for the stars as well, my brother. So that is a way you can get a message from me. They're just important messages. So like today, I just sent one a minute ago saying make sure you catch me as I go live. That way you don't miss it. So that way you're not going to miss any lives. And if I post a blog, which will have like the week ahead, you won't miss that either because obviously there's a lot on your news feed. So it's not going to be easy to find me all the time. Nanette, thank you for the stars. Appreciate you, man. All right. Well, tell you what, let's get on with it, shall we? First things first, a little look outside. We've got some, I'd say a mixture of some clouds and some starlight out there. We're going to get a lot more clouds as the overnight goes on because we're going to start to see some rain by tomorrow morning. Now, there's no rain out there now, but that will be changing by the time you head out the door. So let's take a look outside across the rest of the state. And temperatures actually are, they're not terrible. They're actually a little bit milder right now because we have the return moisture in the air. KC, thank you. We've got some cold temperatures up into the panhandle to the 20s out there. That's the leading edge of the colder air coming in. If you do look at the big map of travel trouble spots, the brown is wind. So wind advisory here in Oklahoma. But if you look up north in the pink, that is a winter storm watch for much of Nebraska, Iowa, and northern Kansas. Thank you, Rachel. If you look at the red, thank you, Christina. If you look at the red, that is a blizzard warning. It is not often we do see blizzard warnings, but we do have one here in the panhandle, both Oklahoma, Texas, and also northeastern New Mexico. Thank you, Judy. Southeastern Colorado and western Kansas. So there you go. There we actually have some real action here close to home. Now the question is, of course, will this heavy snow that's coming down, will it move east? Will these colors change in Oklahoma? We'll show you the data here on that here shortly. You can look at the upper levels of the atmosphere captured by the jet stream pattern in the satellite viewpoint. So this is the water vapor channel that we look at, and it is really good for showcasing where storm systems are. And ours is right here around the Colorado region, and it's spiraling around, and this is all the moisture out ahead of it. Thank you, Brandy, also for the stars as well. So that is already causing the plume of moisture to break out here, which is going to start to turn into some rain here momentarily. All right, let's take a look underneath that, the upper levels of the atmosphere. Where is the storm system going? Here is a look at it. The red, of course, is the lift in the atmosphere. The more red you have, it actually turns to almost kind of a purple color, meaning some really good strong lift. And we've got that coming into the Panhandle region through today, through the night, and over to tomorrow. Now, by afternoon, it's moving across the northern counties, the state line, into Kansas. Thank you, Rich, and into southeastern Kansas during Monday afternoon. So it's a very big, strong storm system, very large, encompasses quite a range of territory here. Now, of course, not everybody's going to get snow with this. A lot of you folks will get some rain. Now, rain is much needed all the way down to Texas, so that is some good news. But the track of this is a little to the north for Oklahoma, a little too far north, I'm afraid. You really want those tracks down closer to the Red River, So the other side of the state, not the north side of the state for us. So this, if you're wanting snow out of this one for the body of Oklahoma, it's not really going to do much for us. That one moves on out, by the way, and then we'll set the stage for the next one. Here's Thursday morning. It's already diving down here across the southwest. This will be taking shape and then zipping through on Friday. We'll take a look at that one here in just a second. First off, the lift associated with this, the brighter the red, the more lift, and the timing of it, you can time the precipitation quite well. So this is midnight from midnight to the daybreak hours. We're building up the clouds and some light rain. We should get some pretty heavy rain here across central Oklahoma where you see all these bright reds and purples, and that will continue to progress to the east. There's Dallas-Fort Worth. You guys getting some good rain. Look at that. It turns colored into blue. That means some very heavy lift in the atmosphere. So there's going to be some very heavy rainfall. Maybe even some thunderstorms out there for Arkansas, eastern Texas, eastern Oklahoma. All right, as far as the snow goes, unfortunately, these little patchy areas about all we have, which is pretty lame. Here's a little burst for northeastern Oklahoma Monday evening into midnight. Thank you, Cheryl. And that's it. Then this system's done. So it's a one and done. It's a short time frame, about 24 hours. It's in and it's out. So where's all the snow? Where's it going to fall? To our north, to our west, and out to the northeast. And that's about it. So you saw that little replay. After that, there's a little bit of snow on Wednesday across the north of us, and then on Colorado starts to take shape again. I'll put this in motion again. So here's my Monday morning. All the heavy rainfall from Texas on into southeastern Kansas changes over to snow. Thank you, Charles. Otherwise, heavy snow elsewhere over the body of Kansas and Colorado. And there's the Panhandle region, even up into Nebraska. Oh, there's Monday afternoon, still the same place. You can see Oklahoma, the back end of it. It's just in the Panhandle for Monday evening. Then we head into the Monday night to midnight hour. There's a little wraparound kind of teasing the northern counties. Maybe even a burst almost as far south as about Tulsa early Tuesday morning, and that's it. So unfortunately, again, it's not going to do a whole lot for us if you're wanting snow here in Oklahoma. So I'm afraid that's just the bad news for you. But there's that light rain that develops overnight. From midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning. There's those heavier rounds of rain that do move through 6 a.m., 7 a.m., so you'll have a wet commute pretty much over most of the state tomorrow. There's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, so that's how the heavy stuff is now east of I-35 by 10 o'clock. There's that snow moving in to the west. There's your heavy snow off to the east. Again, here's a close-up view of Oklahoma. I showed you the surrounding states a moment ago. Here's Monday evening, little burst of heavy snow up here across northwest Oklahoma, just for the time being. You can see at 9 and 10 o'clock. Still kind of trickles on through the northern parts of the counties for the state, pretty much right along a line out of about 412. So from Tulsa through Stillwater out west. Thank you, Mr. Earp. Appreciate you. Good to see you tonight. That moves on off to the east through Bartlesville and southeastern Kansas through about 7 o'clock in the morning. So there you go. So any hope of snow for Oklahoma, if you have to draw an east to west line, right out of 412, all the way from Tulsa, just draw all the way to the other border. And that's where you're going to get your snow here in this system for the state. That means nothing expected down south of that. If you were to see a wet snowflake mixed in, consider yourself lucky. That's all you're going to get. Snowfall amounts, where the models try to burst that snow, they'll try to accumulate it. So for example, and they won't know the exact locations, by the way. They'll get close, but won't be exact. David, by the way, thank you. So, for example, this says a burst of 2 to 3, maybe 4 inches of snow out of some of that significant lift, and a little trail here, and a little trail here, and a little trail here. So you might have some little happy trails in these northern counties, pretty much along that 412 corridor and to the north, and that's about it. But you can see a lot of sparse areas where there's not going to be any measurable snow, so it's going to be feast or famine. And up here across the north and west of us, easy call, up around a foot of snow almost here once you get west of Liberal, Kansas, and southeastern Colorado. And for you guys up to our north, I did have, let's see, where are you? Where'd you go? I did have you up here. Here we go. There it is. I moved you. Okay, let's put you here. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to go to just a couple different models just to show you. You're going to get it. It's just to pick your flavor. The Europeans got anywhere widespread 5 to 10 inches. Spots out here around a foot here in western in Kansas. Now, the American model always gets out of control. It's going 18 inches here. Up in northern Kansas, up around a foot. The HER, which actually surprisingly doesn't always get out of control, it tries to get very specific, and it actually got out of control by being specific. So this is interesting. That's almost 2 feet of snow, or at least a foot and a half up here in northwestern Kansas. Southern Nebraska getting hammered. And you can see it's kind of eroded a lot of the measurable snow here in south central Kansas due to warm air advection. The Icon model, the German model, also has widespread 5 to 10 inches in this pink area, with spots up to 12. Southeastern Kansas, kind of the lone spot not getting much. NAM model is kind of similar there in South Central. They all kind of tell the same tale. They just differ in the amounts by just a couple of inches. Take away the extreme, near the 18, 19 inches. Take that off the table. Everywhere else is pretty much in that 5 to 10 widespread with a few places up around a foot. So there you go. It's a big storm, big maker for Kansas, just not so much for Oklahoma, unfortunately. Now, temperatures, that's also going to be a little bit of a change. If you noticed, let me refresh this here. So like we talked about tonight, we got a little bit of warm air, if you want to call it that, for wintertime coming in. So your temperatures tonight only hold into the mid-40s versus dropping off into the 20s, for example. All right, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, you see we've got that rain around the state, but we're also right around 40 degrees. So that's just way too warm for snow. All right, we actually rebound a little bit, the 50s down the south for tomorrow afternoon. And then the colder air arrives as we head into Monday night and Tuesday morning, dropping us back in to the, let's just say 20s as far as air temperatures go for the most part. So that will be our first little taste, some really cold air, but you have to keep in mind we have something else going on with this. This is going to be a big wind maker. This, in other words, we may not get the snow here in Oklahoma, for most of us, but we're going to get the wind. All right, and I'll show you the wind gusts here in a second. But with the wind chill, when you factor in those temperatures, it's going to feel like the teens for you Tuesday morning. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be ugly. So that's the reason why I point this out, because we really haven't had this kind of a wake-up call in a while. So that's caused by these strong winds. We're going to show you here across the southern plains as we go through time. Look how they kind of go up to the 30, 40, and look out here, 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds. I think I saw 80 in there across eastern Colorado, sneaking into western Kansas. So this is your big wall of wind for Monday afternoon into Tuesday. So again, we put that back over here again that we can see. I'll stop at a couple places. We'll go Monday midday. So there's the noontime hour. Like, this is why they have a blizzard warning out here. When you've got wind speeds in excess of 60 miles per hour, with blowing snow, drifting snow, and if you've got a foot of snow coming, that's a mess. So travel conditions obviously horrid out here in western Kansas and eastern Colorado during the day on Monday afternoon. All right, so let's go to Monday evening. See those winds start to creep eastward into Oklahoma. So our winds are going up now. Once you hit to midnight, I-35 corridor, up and down, north to south, around midnight, and points westward. You've got winds over 50 miles an hour at times. And then we'll calm them down just a hair. So a lot of 40 to 50 mile per hour winds by the time we head in Tuesday morning. So it's going to be a white knuckle, two-handed drive on your steering wheel if you're going to be traveling across the plains. All right, that takes care of that storm system. Like I've said, the moderate impacts are stated and the major impacts are stated in red, where you're going to have a lot of snow and a lot of wind combined, which is going to cause some problems. So if you are traveling in that area, have any friends and family, just give them a heads up. Maybe they're not checking into the weather, who knows. Might not be the best day to travel for Monday afternoon through Tuesday morning. Okay, so now let's get out of that system. We'll focus on the next one, right? On to the next. Is that usually how it goes? So it all depends on timing, of course, and it depends on the track where these upper level storm systems are. Like I said, we mentioned, we look for the bright colors to show you where the major lift in the atmosphere is in this particular track. So this is, in this case, our trough axis. This is where the storm system is. This is the, let's see, I'm on the American model here. And this is for Friday morning. Now, keep in mind, when you see this configuration, or even if it's a circle, all the lift, the strongest lift, is going to be along this trough axis and points to the east. All right, so that's kind of like your main zone of precipitation. In other words, once this trough axis pushes past you, there's usually not much left. Sometimes you get a little light wrap around the back end for like a little bit of snow if it's cold enough like in the winter, or some cloud cover if it's other times of the year. But your main lift, or the main heavy precip, is east of this trough axis. So what this is saying for the American model is by Friday morning, we're at the very end stage of the precipitation, meaning it should start to wind down. Let's back that up and go to the European model. See where it's at. Well, its trough axis is over here now. It came out kind of negative tilted, which means the system's already over. So it's a Thursday night deal, maybe say Thursday evening into say Friday morning. All right, let's go to the Canadian model. Canadian model says, we still keep hope alive. It's right here for the morning hours, which means we still have some morning activity to go. Let's go to the German model. It's over here. It's further east than the European. And it says the show's already over. UK Met, it's back here in the west. So if you watched me on Saturday, we had a camp of two models. One blend was well east, the other blend was well west, and they were kind of duking it out. They're still split as to the timing. So right now it's kind of leaning toward a faster generation, which means the storm system moves in Thursday night, clears the state probably about early Friday morning, is the way this is starting to trend. And this trend may continue throughout the week. It may change a little bit, but that's why we do this, so we can kind of give an idea on the timing of stuff. Now, when we talk about the temperatures that come in, it also depends on when that system clears, because the cold air filters in behind it. So to give you an idea, this is just a snapshot. So this is Friday morning. Just to show you the actual air temperature. So the American model, for example, says 23 degrees here in Oklahoma City. The Canadian says, hey, 41, because it hadn't brought that front through yet, because the system's still out to the west. The European model says 22. You can see teens and single digits, by the way, up north. Let's go to the German model. German model says, yeah, it's already well east, so therefore we got the teens here across Oklahoma Friday morning to start your day. Negative numbers out here across eastern Colorado and western Kansas. If you blend the models, they kind of do a more of an eastward, faster movement. So they've got the front already east and south of the I-44 corridor. Much colder again up here to the north and west. This is the UK Met. It was also back to the west, so it's going to stay warmer. So you can see that's quite a difference between 49 degrees or 15 degrees. That's the difference between that upper level flow. That's why I always like to start the show taking a look at that level, because that's obviously where it's important. Okay, so let me look at the icon models. Let's try to look at this earlier, and then all the data wasn't in yet, but I wanted to see what it did with that faster movement. So here is, for example, Thursday evening. All right, so it moves fast. In other words, it starts here, and then it zips on through in 6 to 12 hours. So let's see, there's the Thursday evening. Front's coming through. It's got some rain for us. It tries to be a little bit of a light mix up here in northern Oklahoma. It could be a little bit touch of freezing drizzle, freezing rain or sleet. And that's not much, not a strong signal. Snow out here to the west. And then by Friday morning, so there's that, remember, if the trough axis upper levels was like this, you get that little, remember that little bubble wraparound I said? So there you go. There's a little bubble wraparound, a little bit of light snow up here for the northern half of the state. Once again, cutting off at I-40 corridor, it seems like. And that lives off to northeast Oklahoma for Friday by lunchtime, and it's out of here. And that's one of the faster movements of this. We'll go to the European, which has also had a pretty fast movement. And normally, just so you know, rule of thumb, you typically side with the European. Typically. It's tough to beat. It's not infallible. It's not wrong. Oh, it's not times where it's not wrong. It's just you usually want to be kind of leaning toward that unless you see something else you like better. And sometimes I do go to other models. But for example, here's the European for the evening hours on Thursday with that faster movement. There's your rainfall here. So it'll be, in other words, that front could move in then Thursday evening while you're out and about. So it'll drop temperatures, obviously. And then you've got the snow wrap around behind it, which does zip through Oklahoma City metro area. So at least we get something, which is better than nothing, at looks like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then by morning in Tulsa, and then it's out of the state and off it goes. Now, this is where things get interesting. And I'm not going to show the rest of the models because this is the general story that we have anyway this far out. You can't get a little bit more specific anyhow. But notice the return flow on Monday. We have another reinforcing shot of Arctic air, actually true Arctic air that comes in this time around, because temperatures are actually down to the single digits. That's how you really know you've got the Arctic air in place. And you see all this pink on here? That's that mixture of what can be freezing rain, can be sleet, some freezing drizzle. For example, this particular outcome says it indicates it's probably going to be sleet, which means that this nose of warm air is just warm enough to melt it and allow it to refreeze hard enough on contact when it hits the surface as little bitty balls, like those little ice balls. So that's what we call sleet. Anyway, so in other words, it's not snow. So that's going to be a mixed bag down here, looks like, in southern and southeastern Oklahoma. And then it expands across Arkansas, northern, northwestern Texas. Some heavy stuff, looks like heavy signals down here in the North Texas. I'll click on that just to kind of see what the signal implies. That's still more sleet. So sleet is a lot better than freezing rain. You're still splitting the difference, on winter precipitation. But it's got a lot more snow up here across the body of Oklahoma. And then that starts to take shape and then move east after that. Now, the difference between this model and the others is that some of them start this by Sunday, late Sunday, and then have it for Monday. Whereas this one kind of starts it early Monday and then has it, until early Tuesday. So there's going to be a little bit of a 12-hour window to play with depending on those the upper lows. Otherwise, this is the standard pattern that's taking shape. And when you have more Arctic air in place, you typically have to deal more with sleet and freezing rain sometimes rather than just snow. Okay, so as far as the European ensembles go, there's still quite a few. About half of them that think there's going to be at least a dusting or a trace of snow here for Oklahoma City for this first system. I hate to say it, I think it's going to be wrong. All right, and then we go to Friday. It still has about half its ensemble members quite confident there's going to be at least a dusting to, maybe an inch of snow in our area. So that's still pretty confident. It hasn't really changed much. And then it's got that secondary signal, which is trying to find the right day. It's in a 24-hour window, or looks like a 48-hour window, and it's trying to find where it wants to put the main system here for Oklahoma City, as a standard point. And it can't tell if it's going to be early, or if it's going to be late, or if it's going to be in the middle. So we'll see what happens with that. We got plenty of time to figure that out. But basically, it's at the end of next weekend is when that next storm system comes in, which has actually, of all these three, the only potential to really bring widespread frozen precipitation to Oklahoma. These other ones really lame ducked it. All right, as far as snowfall amounts go with, let's see, I've gone through Saturday. So I didn't go all the way out. I just went to the second storm system. Just want to show you the potential of snow that's on the table that is going to be out and about. Because I know some of you do a lot of traveling just up north. It's going to be a mess. With this secondary system, even though we don't get much on Friday, again, up north they do. So if you were to blend the models on a very conservative amount, and I mean very conservative, you're looking at 5 to 10 inches and a foot, right? Now, if you go individual models, good grief, man. There's 31 inches. Icon's got a hot spot here, southeast Nebraska of 23. The American model's got 22. Most of it's over Kansas. The Canadian's got 23. Boy, 23 seems to be a hot number if you're playing the lottery. And then we've got the European, which looks like they've got the most is 15. So typically you would want to side, for this far out, side more with the Euro, even though, again, these numbers will need to be massaged. And you can see how it kind of kept hope alive on Friday for accumulating snow for this part of Oklahoma. So that's some good news. At least might get a little bit of action around here for that second storm system. But although by far and large, look how much the state doesn't get anything, right? So that would require we'd have to wait for the third system again for late Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, whichever final window ends up being for 24 hours. So that is kind of a sneak peek into extended. So when you look at the temperatures as a result of that, again, we're not bad here temperature-wise over the next few days. Pretty standard, over at lows in the 20s. So this is not Arctic air time yet. Then we get the really good, and this is where you have to look at it two ways. It's either very strong continental polar or it's very modified Arctic air. Either way, we're going to have some really good cold stuff here for the first start of our weekend in this time frame. And temperatures obviously will be cold as a result. What happens then after that, that next push of Arctic air is brutal. So that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all these numbers are in jeopardy. I would suggest siding on the lower end of things. In other words, I think all these numbers will come down for daytime highs, regardless of how much snow or maybe some ice we get across the state. And overnight lows will be quite a bit colder. There was some data earlier of 0 degrees, I think, was the 15th or 16th. And the models struggle notoriously with Arctic air. They never have a good idea. They never know what to predict for the numbers. It's always a guessing game. Just know that rule of thumb for Arctic air is it always comes in faster than the model suggests. If it has any snowpack that it comes over is typically a factor in that. That helps to kind of speed it up, reduces the frictional effect. The other thing is, depending on the trajectory, it can come in really cold. And this looks like a pretty good trajectory for us. So in other words, usually colder than what they think it's going to be because it doesn't have time to moderate, especially if there's snow on the ground. So usually we get a lot colder than what they originally thought. And it usually goes farther south than it usually stops the brakes on. So in other words, it always goes down to Texas and stuff. And then half the time it takes all those people off guard. It's like, what? I thought it was going to stop in Oklahoma. Nope. So that's the trend that Arctic air masses do. They're fun to forecast, and there's a lot of busts as a result of it in the forecast world because either they don't know the golden rules or they just pay attention to the models. I don't know what happens. But regardless, it is difficult to get the exact number right. But as you get closer, you get a better idea. Because you can look upstream, and you can look at dew point values to kind of see where that's at. And you can look if there's going to be clear winds. Clear skies and light winds, all that kind of stuff. So I will bring one more thing to your attention, and I'm going to leave you for tonight. So let me get this thing loaded up. All right. Okay, so this is also my weather app. So if you go to AT's Weather to Go, it's like Apple, Google Play, just type in AT's Weather. But be careful because there's other weather apps out there that pay to put their app in front of mine with my search term. Dude, people are shady. Humans are so shady. My brother and I, we call them turds. Every human is a turd. Just some humans are less of a turd than others, but we're all turds. Of course, we call our dogs turds too. Now, a lot of times it's in fun, but still, that just kind of shows you that there's some shadiness going on sometimes. But point being is, when you go here, take a look at the weather data tab. If you're on my website, aarontuttle.weather.com, you can find out multi-state road conditions. This is also my weather app and a little menu button. And you can scroll down. It'll give you the snow route here in Oklahoma City. It'll also pop up the neighboring states. So it'll have Colorado on there. It'll have Kansas, and basically it'll tell you if the roads are closed, if they're slow, how things are going. So it'll have pictures, live video pictures you can click on to see what the snow plows are seeing out their yard. There's New Mexico on there if you want, Arkansas. So all those are on there at your fingertips. I know, and I get this asked all the time, how are road conditions going to be, or how are they now? That is honestly your best way because it's real, it's instant, it's live data. You don't have to ask anybody. You can just let the cameras tell you and the sensors tell you, and that's really the best way to go. Plus, you get it in seconds. You don't have to watch the news all morning long and wait to catch that 30-second, section of the newscast. And you don't have to type the question to me. You can just go there and find it yourself. It's really simple. Dustin, by the way, thank you for the stars. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks everyone for the stars tonight. Amanda, thank you. And thank you, Becky and Robert also, and Lyndall in there as well. Thank you. So you guys did a lot of gifting tonight. I appreciate that. Let me see what else for you. In my blog, go read if you got a chance. It kind of talks about some of this stuff, and at the end, I give you some little bit of a tips on the winter weather just in general. So the pattern is going to be interesting to see what happens. So usually when you have a sudden stratospheric warming event, it disrupts the polar vortex, which basically causes it to move from the North Pole. All right, and that circulates then around the northern hemisphere with little wobbles. And then those wobbles set up shop, and sometimes they can get stagnant or they can keep being transitory. Earlier model data had them being more stagnant and kind of favoring central Canada. What that means is it's the open door for the Siberian hounds of hell to come our way when it comes to Arctic air. Later data now has a more of a wobble structure and being more progressive, where it kind of goes back up to the northeast and kind of maybe anchors around the Great Lakes and points north, kind of retrogrades back in some. So it all depends on how that happens as to how long our cold spell lasts. Once you get that northwest flow set up, where we call it a cross-polar flow, where that air masses come right over the pole from the other side of the globe, that's usually our coldest weather we get here across North America, which means Canada and means the United States. If we can set that up to where the jet stream is more favorable for a western track, that means it gets to kind of hang up against the sides of the Rockies, because Arctic air is pretty shallow. So it's very hard for it to spill over the Rockies in the southwest. So in this particular case, it kind of just, let's just say it's like a snowbank almost, but it's a mountain bank, right? So it kind of bumps up against it. It can't go west, so it starts to go south. So you have a lot of effects that happen that just causes it to kind of just ooze right into Oklahoma very easily. And it's usually not as modified, comes in faster, etc. So that's usually our best chance to get the most brunal punch of an Arctic air mass from the north. But typically most of ours kind of come from the central or central east, where they kind of, quote, backdoor in. And when those backdoor in, they ooze in. There's not a lot of wind with them. And I don't know, this is not sexy to me. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but they just kind of they sneak attack you. I'm like, it's lame, man. I want you to come in. I want you coming down with horses and flags and shouting out, from the northwest. But sometimes they come in kind of a northeast fashion, and there you go. Now, when that does happen, and it will happen, those patterns, a lot of times we'll get a chance to rebound. So you'll have it where it plays havoc on temperature forecasts because you be in this pattern, whereas overall it's a cold pattern. And I can tell you, hey, we're locked in a 30-day cold pattern. And then during that 30 days, because of the trajectory, a lot of those Arctic masses of reinforcing shots will pass to our northeast, and they'll slam the Great Lakes, the Midwest, maybe kind of clip Nebraska, Kansas, and then barely hit Oklahoma or not hit Oklahoma at all. When that happens, then we get a chance to rebound to in the 50s or maybe even sometimes 60s. You're like, well, what happened to all the cold air you promised me? So I'm going to tell you ahead of time, we're in a pattern where that can happen. But then what will happen is the next day, that Arctic air will ooze in. It'll backdoor in and like, ha, just kidding. Here I am. It's like, you turd. So that can happen too. Now, that's fine, and it's usually not a big deal unless you have an active jet stream in which you've got maybe a subtropical, southwest flow aloft. Now, when that happens, and you get this kind of a backdoor oozing Arctic front, you get the setup for ice storms or a freezing rain event. So that can sometimes happen as well. So it's a very exciting pattern to be in. Doesn't always guarantee you're going to have action every few days. It may be a week at a time, but the potential is always there. So you just have to look, and when the stars align, sound the alarms and go, hey, this is what we got coming next. But it's just fun because it's different, it's challenging, and I like it. I like winter weather forecasts. So I think that's about it. That was kind of just a big picture, just so you'll know what's going on upstairs and down the road. But the coldest period that we're going to notice with this event, the sudden stratospheric warming event, is about a solid week of temperatures at night being very cold in the single digits. Some of you might even be below 0 at times, and then eventually into the teens. And that's probably going to be for the full, let me look at my calendar here, third week of, the middle. Excuse me. So yeah, we're technically the third week then. Yeah, it's like, how many weeks do we have in January? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the calendar. All right. So yeah, so the 15th basically. So that Monday, from that point forward, we've got about 7 good days of sub-freezing temperatures where we may not even get above freezing, which depends on if we can keep the reinforcing Arctic air masses kind of coming in, or if they start to slide off to the east. So it may end up challenging, be a very cold week from the 15th onward. That's the way it had looked in prior data. So we'll see if that trend continues or if it kind of, gets messy like I mentioned before. But regardless, that's what we have on the table. So that's what's in our future. Tricia, by the way, thank you for the stars as well. So again, if you're late to the party, you have to catch the replay. You can watch this anytime. Just think of it like a podcast or something, right? That way you can always get the information, like if you're in your car and you're just heading to work. That's what I do. I usually just put on stuff I like to listen to, and I just listen to whatever it is. It's usually about diet, nutrition, because I'm always into science stuff, so I want to learn the latest and greatest research on things. But that's one of the things that I listen to, but that's just me. And then that kind of ties into what I did earlier. So every time this time of the year, I put out my diet guide. So just to help you. So if you want to transform your mind, your body, your health, I can do it really quick for you. So I've helped hundreds of people do it. Just there's a couple of posts on my Facebook wall where you see like my photo shoot pictures from my bodybuilding photo shoot when I was competing a couple years ago, and you can just put diet in the comment section. And so in that, I give you all the tips and tricks that are learned in the bodybuilding world for competing. And you may think, well, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. Well, it's not for bodybuilding. It's for shredding off pretty much as much fat as you want to shred off. You want to get it all off, get it all off. So when you're bodybuilding, you have to. When you're a normal person, you don't. But if you just want to lose some, that's great. Plus, it's got tips on there on how to eat properly and how to exercise. So that way you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to figure it out on your own. It's all laid out. It's easy. It's a Cliff Notes style guide. So it's super easy to follow, and it'll set you up for success. Because honestly, if there's anything I want to do, obviously I want to get a maximum input for maximum effort, maximum results. I want to make sure it's all aligned. I don't want to waste my time doing stuff that's not going to work. So that doesn't do me any good. So that's how I view things. So if you're in that ballpark and you're like, yeah, me too, I don't want to waste my time. Well, then get my God, silly, and make it easy on yourself. I went through 30 years of education to get to this point. So look, it's all up here. You might as well just use it. Otherwise, you're going to go to the grave with me. What good is that going to do anybody? So anyway, so check that out. Let's see. I think that's about all I want to talk about. Appreciate you guys checking in. I'm going to post a link one more time if you missed it earlier to sign up. Or actually, I just did that. Yeah, I just signed this a minute ago to get the Facebook broadcast channel. So if you want to go in there, get that Facebook Messenger on your phone. It'll be accessed then to the weather broadcast channel that I have. All I do is just let you know I'm going live, and or I posted a blog, something simple like that. It'll be on it'll pop up in your instant messengers feed. And I do this as an alternative because I don't know what 2-3 years ago, Facebook stopped notifying everybody whenever I went live. YouTube still does for the most part, I think. Rumble, yeah, they're working on it. I'm not sure what they're doing. But so Facebook's workaround, I think probably because so many people complained, was to do this. So in that channel, anything I send you, you should receive. So it's a little different than like turning on your Facebook feed and you have all your friends, all their posts on there, and then you might or might not see me on that wall, right? This way, at least you know, okay, hey, he's going live, and there's the link. I can just click on it and go watch it if you want to. That way you don't miss it, if that's something you want to see. And that's about it. Okay, I'm out of here. You guys have a great rest of your night. Thanks again for the love, liking the video, sharing the video, joining the platforms. You can do it YouTube, Rumble, Gab, Facebook. Doesn't matter to me, whichever you want to pick. And I'll get you the information that you need. Guys, take care, and we'll talk again soon. Good night.